And we're live. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, evening, good night, depending where in the world you are. I am Dana Dubois. This is I Write Out Loud. And I am joined today by a guest, which is very, very different for my weekly I Write Out Loud lives. It is usually just me popping off on whatever essay I have written about that week. But this week, I have the amazing Lindsay Hall here with me. And I am so happy that you are here, Lindsay.
Thank you for having me. I love
Oh
talking
my
to you.
Oh my gosh, of course. I'm going to do that thing I always do because I'm paranoid about StreamYard and how well it works. That I am just going to go check all the channels and make sure we're actually live because it has happened before that I've gone on for 5 or 10 minutes only to find out I was talking to myself. Good. We are actually live on Substack. I'm not even going to check the others. Hopefully, Facebook and YouTube picked it up, but it's really Substack where most of this conversation happens. So
Perfect.
I'm going to call that good. And I'm going to say, so Lindsay and I met, um, what is time? It was a few months ago now.
Yeah.
I bet you remember what month it was, though, because you wrote an essay that went like to the sky bonkers
Still
viral.
going. Still going. It's the
And
essay that just never ends, honestly.
it's remarkable. And when it happened, our paths crossed online, and I was like, come join me on the Daily Whatever show, which you did. And we had an amazing time and an amazing conversation. And one of the funniest moments I remember is I forget what happened, but I came off the live and it was just you because Lawrence wasn't there that day. It was Fine Feminist Hour. And you just went with it. You were just like, hey guys, it's me, I guess, now on this live. You were such a good sport.
I've done a few. Yeah, I know what it's like.
Oh my gosh, I'm so glad that you do. And hi everyone. I see so many great names. I'm gonna just do a quick hi Michael, hi Lisa, Andrew, Mikey, Ayana, Graham, Brigitte, Janice, Clifford, Julie, Lisa, Courtney, Amy, Great Desire, Zanuza, and Jessif. Those are just the ones that are here, and there's more. But hello and welcome. We are so glad you're here. Before we even really jump in and get started, I'm going to ask you all for a favor, and you all who come regularly will know what this is. If you could all click the heart, that signals to Substack that we are about to have an amazing conversation and that everyone needs to put their eyes, on us on this live. This is your first time joining Great Desire. I'm so happy that you are here. It's wonderful to see your name. And I'm intrigued by your username of Great Desire. I'm going to have to hold on. I'm going to click through your name in another tab so I can go back and look at what you do after the live. But Lindsay, you came to my attention because you wrote this one essay, but you are far more than one essay written about how ChatGPT ended your relationship, which I have so many thoughts about, especially now a few months on.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know. Now, if you Google my name, that is the essay of my name now. It's
Oh,
like wipe, not wiped out, but it's just like my eating disorder writing is like definitely right now still like my chat GPT ex-boyfriend is still very high up on the Google, and then the other stuff is like all my years of eating disorder. So it's
right.
just funny. It's funny what one viral thing can do.
I'm still waiting for that. I have not had my viral moment like that. And Ayana in the chat is saying, I hope the new moon eclipse was transformative in the best of ways. First of all, let me say it was actually. It's still going. I mean, the eclipse isn't still going, but the power of the new moon, I'd like to think is. And so far, Ayana, like, yeah, it has been, which is amazing. Um, but also, I am not an expert in astrology or tarot or these things, but I'm very interested, and I have friends around me lately who are. And Karen Marie Shelton in particular has been like something about Jupiter and Leo, and it's my time. And she keeps saying it's like big time for my big moment, and I'm kind of like, okay, I'm ready, big moment. When are you coming? But I can imagine it must feel disorienting to be like, you've done so much work as a writer for so many years, and especially on a topic as important as eating disorders, which we're going to come back to. But now you are known as the woman who broke up with her boyfriend because of ChatGPT.
Yes. Well, I don't hate it. It's that it's just a different identity than what I'm used to. Online, like I've never received so much scrutiny and feedback online, which I guess kind of plays into in a
Yeah,
weird tangential way, plays into our topic today.
right.
But it's just been very interesting, and I mean, I think at first it was very overwhelming and I wasn't sure how to handle that kind of scrutiny and just like constant like barrage of feedback.
Oh
But
my
at the
gosh.
ultimately, like as the months have gone on, and I still get multiple comments a day on that Substack article. And I'm just like so shocked at like how far reaching it's been, and who I
I,
still get, media requests for about it. And I think it just something I do like about it is that it blew open this like wall or this door of how are we dating right now in 2026 with
right.
AI being such an intricate part of our lives. And so it's been a very interesting, like, it's been interesting to see the commentary that's come out of it. And I've learned a lot,
Yeah.
honestly. I never expect, was it, I didn't mean to be the pro of, the like chat GPT per like relationship expert or anything like that. I was just writing from a place of, I guess, kind of
Right.
hurt at the time. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I put the essay in the chat for everyone. Oh my God, you have almost 33,000 likes on this story.
Yeah,
Like,
it's crazy. I know.
that is
Hey.
nuts. Almost 30,000 restacks and almost 3,200 comments. Like, holy shit balls. I don't want to spend the whole time talking about this essay. It's simply part of our origin story, and I would imagine a big part of your origin story with a lot of people and publications.
Yeah.
But like, what's kind of the one big, like if you had to give like one thing about this, either like a crazy story of something that happened or a life lesson from it, do you have like one thing that you'd want now? Let's see, it was March, April, May, June, July, August, about 5 months and change later. What's your
Yeah.
perspective there?
Oh, my perspective, I think, is I might have wanted to wait a little bit longer to let the situation marinate for me a bit because some of my perspective, you know what I mean? Like I wrote about it from a place of pretty fresh, like
Mhm.
fresh hurt or fresh trying to
Yeah,
understand what had happened or trying to make it make sense. So I don't know that I would have changed a whole lot of it, but I think at the time when it, you have to be, I don't know, it was a lesson in like you have to really, if you're going to write about somebody else, even though I never named him and I would never dox him, but obviously it
yeah.
got back to him and
You
and
think?
yeah.
Oh, he must have felt so awful.
He knows, yes, he knows it exists. He knows he's, the story at least is everywhere. He's never been named or anything like that, but the story's everywhere. And, there's I don't know if it's regret, but there's definitely like a lesson there and like making sure that if you're going to write about somebody else that's involved, like I maybe should have, I feel like I could have given it a little bit more time. In
Right,
between that, because I think it was quite fresh. But I don't regret writing it in the same sentence. I just think it could have been a little bit later in time that I had published it.
right.
But instead, I kind of wrote it in like this is what I'm feeling now, and I need to get it all
Yeah,
out. You know what I mean?
it is. That's like a constant challenge in memoir writing is like, when are you the right narrator? You definitely feel like a reliable narrator in this essay. You feel like to me, it feels like you have enough distance, but it certainly does feel fresh. And I
Yeah,
will say for the record, if anyone I have dated in the last year ever accessed my AI agents, they would be horrified too, I think. And so, like, I think a lot of us ask for an objective
yeah.
feedback from AI. And so that just makes like, I think if you had waited, you might have missed a cultural moment because you were early or it was just right timing.
I do too. Unbeknownst to me,
Right.
like
You had no idea at the time,
but I
but I
do. I
do.
agree. I think. I mean, I think it. I'm glad it opened the door to that. I think that conversation needs to be happening, and I think I just somehow, inadvertently started a huge conversation. Like I'm talking to Time Magazine about this in the next couple weeks too. They're running a big article about how AI is impacting relationships in both positive and negative. And
Yes.
I think it is an important conversation to have. So I stand by writing it, but
Yeah.
there, as you said with memoir writing, it's like you have to be careful with who, when you're writing about somebody else too.
Yes. That is a constant like, who is okay to write about and how identifying do you make it? And I pretty much hold to the like, we all have the right to our lived experiences as long as
Yeah.
we give anonymity to the folks. But
Yep.
Karen says he didn't like your cats, Lindsay, so I have no sympathy for him.
Thank you. Thank you. That should actually be the biggest lesson I took from that is
Right?
I will never date somebody again that like doesn't like love my cats or like love animals. It's just such a values difference ultimately, and
Right?
it's just like there's just everyone's entitled to not like pets or like pets, but like if you have a lot, you kind of have to date someone that likes them. Otherwise, it creates
Yeah.
a lot of
Oh,
unnecessary.
for right? You have to be aligned on pets. I think
Yeah.
that's an important one. Um, yeah, this is just I'm thinking I'm in my mind I'm seeing my like essay draft folder of like, the unfinished symphonies, and I'm like, oh, I should really write more of those AI ones that I have in the works. It's having such a
Yeah,
moment right now,
it
but
is. Still is
time,
too.
time, time. Yeah, it's
And I know
yeah,
you have good perspectives in it too. And you had a little bit of a different perspective that I hadn't thought of, when you kind of
yeah,
shared with me about your experience with like AI and dating. And so I think that there's room for all of those conversations and that all those
yeah.
conversations are interesting to be reading about.
Right. And I sort of have this thought coming through my head as we're talking now of like, what right to privacy do we have with our AI bots? Because they are starting increasingly to become more and more personal. Like, I would be very, like, it would be violating if someone came and read all of the threads that I'm having. Because some of them are just very blunt, where I'm just like, oh, what do I do about this? Or,
Mhm.
um, I mean, not that I let my AI bot tell me what to do, but I often preserve very raw moments so that I can go back and find them for writing. Well, that's a whole thing. Could you be blackmailed by your AI bot? Karen asks. Yes, I mean, probably. Um, but I want to shift the topic because um, we're here today to talk about another very big area of expertise for you, which is eating disorders and
Mhm.
writing about eating disorders. And I thought of you as I wrote. So for those of you who may be new to I Write Out Loud, I host an essay every week, early in the week, and then I have a public live where I kind of discuss the. God, my vocabulary is not here today, but I get into the broader cultural conversations that the essay may bring up. And then I do it again on Sundays with my paid subscribers. We have a Sunday salon, and I give more kind of behind the scenes stuff I don't want to share quite publicly. But anyhow, this essay it was the one of the first times, second time only, that I was like, I feel like I could use another perspective here because this is something that's been spinning in my head for a while, that I felt like I had something to add to this cultural conversational moment we're having. But also, it's not me. It's not something I have lived experience with in eating disorder. So I'm going to grab the essay. I have it pulled up here, right here. It is called "How Do We Speak to Our Teen Daughters About Ariana?" And for background, I have two teen daughters. One of them is in the other room having art lessons right now, as life sometimes works out. Oh, Amy, thank you for saying it was an excellent essay. And
Mhm.
Karen, oh, Karen already posted it. Thank you, Karen, for doing that. Um, at least for me as a memoirist, I don't know if you do this too, Lindsay, but I think the most interesting essays to write and to read are the ones that don't necessarily have a cohesive ending. They're not like, I'm going to tell you this and then you're going to be better at blah. It's more exploring that there are nuanced conversations to be had where there maybe isn't a total answer yet.
Absolutely.
And this one, I have myself on a timeline right now where I'm like, every Monday I drop this essay, and that means some nights, like Sunday night at midnight or 1 a.m. when I finish this finally, I was like, I don't feel like this is quite done. I want another rev with it, and I was like, no, Dana, this is your practice. And the reason it was so tough was, I think, in part because this is such a hard topic of, for those who maybe haven't read it yet, I will say it opens with me discussing how young women, the ones who were like just older than my daughters, who have been influencing them online, quite literally, the beauty norms have moved to a space where things like eyelashes and lip fillers and microbladed eyebrows and all of the things are just a norm. And I commented on it, and my kids will tell me rightly often, like, don't comment on women's appearance. And I'm like, you're right. I've taught you like this because I grew up in an era where commenting on women's bodies was very normal. and girls' bodies was very normal, and it was hard. I mean, I've always kind of been like this. Like I'm not a skinny ideal. So I very much didn't raise my kids like that. But also, yes, it's true that if it's making her happy, why not just let her do it? It raises the bar, so to speak, for all of us. If the norm becomes you're doing all of this work, then just an unmodified face is an anomaly and is someone who isn't keeping up. And I think that then becomes dangerous. And then that morphs into body stuff where for a few years in the like happy maybe 2010 era, right around when my kids were born, there was this huge body positivity movement. And we got more inclusive sizing for clothes. And we got lots of famous women who were beautiful and they were badasses and they were top of their game and in their career who were fat. Lindy West famously said, like, I don't want you to call me overweight. I just want you to call me fat. Like, it's not a negative word. It's simply my body, just like you can be tall or blonde. And then Ozempic and all of the weight loss meds came around, and suddenly all of those women lost weight, which I don't begrudge them individually at all. And we're now watching as starlets are, and it's not just Ariana Grande, but we're watching her and others look visibly emaciated as a beauty norm. And for women my age, that's evoking of Karen Carpenter and of Amy Winehouse and other women we saw sort of die in front of us in public. And that's what this essay is tackling is shaming the shame around don't shame women's bodies so great that it's making us not speak to cultural conversations of like these are not healthy bodies. And especially when they're young impressionable girls or young women watching them thinking that's a beauty ideal. That's what this essay is all dancing around for those of you who may have missed it. And Lindsay, I am so interested in getting your perspective because I just monologued for like 5 minutes.
No.
What has it felt? Well, actually, before I even ask questions like this, I would love if you could share some of your background experiences and
Yeah.
whatever you're comfortable sharing
Yeah.
around your eating disorder.
Yeah, so I mean, I actively say like I lived in the eating disorder cycle for a decade. I'm
Mm,
very much like I feel like I fit the pretty um prototypical norm of what my generation as a 37-year-old like what my generation went through. I grew up in my teenage years were in the like Nicole Richie, Paris Hilton,
oh
all that
yes.
phase. And that was when I was reading Us Weekly and People Magazine and all that. And I
Yeah.
was always, I think there was two things going on. There was a cultural moment that we're seeing again that happened when I was a teenager of everyone was very thin. It was Kate Moss and, the whole I think it was Kate
Yes.
Moss that said something like nothing feels as good as skinny. Nothing tastes as good as skinny feels. That was a pretty sure a Kate Moss quote of
It
like
I don't know who said that, but I actually used that in my like summary of this. So like that
yeah.
was the era where I grew up. Even
Yeah.
yeah, it was even earlier.
So
Nothing.
that's like been
Yeah,
that was like definitely how we all grew. Yeah, your generation, my generation. I mean, we all grew up in that way.
yes.
And I think I was affected by that, obviously. And I I was
You
always
are correct. It is Kate Moss.
I thought it was
I
Kate
stand
Moss.
corrected.
Yeah, I've written about that before. I was like, that could have been proved wrong, but I thought it was Kate Moss. But anyway, so I started struggling with anorexia when I was 16, and then anorexia turned into bulimia, which turned into exercise bulimia, which turned, I mean, it's just, I've always called it the cycle. I would say my predominant sickness of them all was anorexia. I struggled with being underweight, classically underweight, all the classic anorexia signs. There's atypical anorexia now. There's so many different eating disorder ways to look at
Mhm.
anorexia and not just that. But I had the pretty traditional one in the sense, and I had exercise bulimia, and then what was later deemed drunkorexia, which I'm not sure what they're even calling it now. I started
Did you
writing
say drunkorexia?
yeah, I started writing about drunker. That was really my other little only other time in life that I've hit a cultural, I think, like point was in
Yeah.
2016 or 15. I wrote about drinking alcohol instead of eating, and that was kind of a behavior I had all through college and all through my early 20s when I lived in New York. And that was kind of a way to like save calories, right? Is that I would like drink instead of eat and not like binge, not like drink like binge drink to oblivion, but I would like drink in place of it. And then that kind of became that drunkorexia became this like term that people were using when I was like going on TV to talk about it,
Oh
which is funny to think
my
about. That's like 10 years ago. But yeah, so I had kind of, I had a lot of, I struggled a lot. I didn't think I was sick enough. That was a huge thing I think a lot of people struggle with is not feeling sick enough to need rehab
God.
or need treatment. And then
Oh.
thankfully my family intervened in 2013 and at the behest of a lot of my friends that had called my parents and been like she's kind of out of control because I think you
Mm.
eventually kind of lose touch with almost your own reality in an eating disorder because you were so consumed by it and I
Right.
couldn't think, I couldn't function, I had lost my job, I hadn't told my parents
Mm.
why, like all sort, all these things were escalating after 12 years and or 8 years, I guess, at that point. And then finally, I went to treatment and I wrote about going to treatment, and that's where my like writing career started. Was writing about being in treatment at the time because there was nothing online that was documenting like what the day to day of treatment looks like, or I wanted the nitty gritty of it. I wanted to understand what I was doing by going into a rehab facility for 6 weeks inpatient 24/7. I couldn't
Oh,
find anything. And that's where it all started. And yeah, I've written about eating disorders and recovery and the rocky process of recovery for the last decade.
wow. Well, first of all, like, amazing that you have come through this, and amazing that you are sharing that experience with others so that they can, um, yeah, have you as sort of a guiding light as they're going through it. Do
Oh,
you have a memory from back in your teenage years of like what was the catalyst? Like,
yeah.
do you have a sense of was it simply watching Kate Moss et al. Be so skinny and being like, I want to look good, or was there another factor at play?
I think there's like two factors at play. One, I was I was very short and tiny my whole life. So when you are predispositioned as the little one, like all through elementary school, all through middle
Yeah,
school, up to a tiny private school, you kind of get labeled. Like everyone has their labels. And my label
sure.
was I wasn't the smartest one or like the prettiest one or anything like that, but I was the tiniest one. Like I was the shortest
Mhm.
one, which also meant that I was just tinier than a lot of my girlfriends who hit puberty a lot faster than I did. And I
Sure,
think that there was something about that identity that really, when you get told that over and over and over again, that like that's your thing, is that you're
sure,
you're small and that you're tiny, and that when you have enough women, adult women telling you how special that is and how you're so lucky that you have this thing, you know what I mean? That
mm,
women want so badly that you're petite, you're tiny. When I did go through puberty and I started like filling out and looking like, just relatively like a normal child, like a normal 16
right,
year old. I didn't cope with that. It was too much of, it was like a loss of identity coupled with the fact that I was very much reading Us Weekly and People Magazine. And back then they had those, I still so distinctly those columns of like, celebrities looking like real people, but really it was just them shaming women who were like in a bikini that weren't looking at the camera and posed, you know what I mean? But I
yep.
still like so
I
distinctly remember like flipping through magazines and thinking like, oh, how humiliating for them. You know what I mean? Like that's so
right,
humiliating. I never want to look like that. Like I never want to have that issue. Um, and yeah, just and then watching Nicole Richie and Paris Hilton, and they were scrutinized online the same way Ariana was about like how tiny they were, but it was a different era. Whereas like Ariana, which we'll speak to this in a little bit, I feel like there's more people that are expressing, so-called concern, whether or not it's
yeah,
concern or envy or all these other things that are mixing into it. We'll get to it in a minute. But back then it was like that people were like praising them. You know what I mean? There was like this praise around how
right,
beautiful and hot they were. And I just think, yeah, I think when you're 16 years old, it's all those compiling factors just kind of
yeah.
started adding to it. And then as I got older, eating disorders really just become a coping skill. Like they become like that's how I coped with everything in my life. When my best friend died, it grew worse. When I was graduating college, it grew worse. I mean, there's just all these like milestones with eating disorders that kind of like drug addiction. You don't go,
Right,
I don't think you start being like a fentanyl addict, you know what I mean? Like,
right,
or having an addiction to fentanyl necessarily. Usually it's starting with like this that leads to that, that leads to that. And then
right.
that's kind of how I look at my eating disorder life.
Wow. Well, what I'm hearing is an origin story. I think is very relevant to this because it sounds like a very big part of what influenced young Lindsay
Mm.
was stars, was famous people who were very skinny. And um, was there, I'm always thinking about this, of course, through myself and my own children of like,
Mhm.
were there any voices around you, either your family members or like anyone influential in your life who was saying these aren't realistic expectations, or no, they were all probably like, yeah, she's beautiful.
I think, yeah, I think my mom's generation, my aunt's generation, I think the women in my life had equally as horrific expectation of how they should look. And I have the same body type as my mom, and I think, I think there was immense pressure on all of them, and whether or not they
Of
don't talk about it, out loud on podcasts or streams the way I do
course.
now. But I don't think it was, yeah, like those conversations I don't think were happening in mass. And hopefully they're happening more now with people like you who are talking to your daughters and then publishing about it. Cause now we have the internet and Substack and all these things. But
Yeah.
no, I don't know. I didn't really feel like people were really, talking about that. And eating disorders were still pretty untalked about in general back then. There just wasn't a lot of language around them and a lot of
Yeah.
resources around them.
Which is strange because there should have been by then. Like I'm older enough than you to remember, like I feel like anorexia nervosa, which is how the term came out when it first came out after Karen Carpenter died. I was quite small. I mean, young, not, should watch my language as we're doing this. But I think she died in like 81, maybe. Is that
Yeah, I
right?
know it's the 80s. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
she's become such that icon
Yeah.
of, and icon maybe is the wrong word. I don't know if I meant
No,
that.
but sort of,
She's
it was 83
83.
when
Yeah,
she,
she's become this
yeah.
symbol of anorexia untalked about because I think it really wasn't talked about in the early 80s at all.
There was kind of no, I don't even think there was a publicly known vocabulary around it. So I would have been in early middle school at that time. And so I remember hearing the word anorexia nervosa. And then I remember seeing a lot of like, I don't even, shows like 60 Minutes. I can't remember which ones, but those kinds of investigative journalistic shows being like, do you know what anorexia nervosa is? And showing it, a little bit of it was like, like rubbernecking, right? They would show what women look like and how skinny they were. And, but it was very like, I remember being a kid and just being like, well, I don't understand. Why are they just not eating? And there was a lot of that kind of language of like, is this really a health thing? Because why don't they just eat? Sort of like, why don't alcoholics just stop drinking alcohol?
Yep.
There was,
Yeah,
so there was the mental health space hadn't caught up, but the awareness was there. And that was so many years before you were dealing with it. Like you would have hoped as a culture that it would be there. But apparently not.
no, and I don't think it was, especially even back in like the early 2000s, because it was like Nicole Richie came out and said that she was bulimic at one point. I don't remember when she finally started
Mhm.
talking about this. But I think that there was this also turning point where anorexia was like the only eating disorder that mattered, right? Because you could have these
Right,
skeletal images, typical anorexia, I say. Atypical anorexia wasn't even labeled, I don't think, at that point.
right. I'm not even quite sure what atypical anorexia is. So after you finish this, I'd love for you
Yeah.
to define that.
But it was like Nicole Richie talked about having bulimia, and
Mhm.
I think that was the only reason bulimia was even really talked about mainstream at all, was because she
Yeah,
finally started talking about throwing up. And I think that anorexia still had this glamorization to it for a long time, whereas like bulimia is kind of like I've written about this before. It's like I didn't like talking about bulimia. Do you know what I mean? Like when I first started writing, I only wanted to
yeah,
write. It's like anorexia is the powerful one. You know what I mean? Like anorexia is like the posturing of like, look how much self control I had type
right.
type thing. And I had to rectify that in myself as a writer to be like, no, I need to talk about the other parts that maybe I'm not, that, like my eating disorder brain is telling me, no, that part shows that you have lacked control. Like there's all these things in your brain that are telling you.
Right.
It's very interesting. I don't know. It's really interesting part, but I think that's in part why we're now talking about all eating disorders in a much more generalized way. But back then we were just taught, there was just focus on anorexia, if any.
Right. So, can we touch on what is atypical anorexia? How
Yeah.
does that manifest?
So atypical anorexia, which I'm so glad there's
Yeah.
I
I
appreciate
feel
now
like
that
as
there's
a
for it.
parent of
Yeah.
girls, it's shameful. I don't know what it is. So
No,
please
no, it's just
educate us.
it's like anorexia that falls. It's anorexia that fall, and I want to make sure I'm saying this correctly, so we might want to fact check. But it's like, to me, I define it as it's anorexia that falls not in the traditional sense where you're just your BMI is, which I don't even know if I believe in BMI. That's a whole nother topic.
Right.
But where technically by diagnostic standards, your BMI is not severely underweight or severely like what they would classify as what diagnostically puts you in anorexia. Atypical anorexia is like your weight might be not something that's a medical concern necessarily, or you may not, you could be having all the other symptoms of anorexia, which are like heart palpitate, all the other like all the other medical issues that go in with atypical anorexia. And I think that was a very important distinction to make, because for so long people were told they were not sick enough to need help, right? And you can still be exhibiting anorexia in so many different ways. And just because your weight isn't what like a doctor, what the insurance company most of the time is going to deem, then it doesn't mean that you're not struggling in that same cycle.
So interesting. So you could be living with the calorie deficit of an anorexic. You could be facing down the cardiac risks, but your body doesn't look as gaunt.
For whatever, for lots of different reasons. But yeah, diagnostically, you're not, which is often how insurance companies, get away with not improving treatment.
Not funding it.
Yeah.
As someone, I assume anorexia is sort of like alcoholism, that it's not like you're cured of it. It's something you manage your whole life. Is that a true statement, first of all?
I get, there's people, everyone's always going to take different takes on it, right? Like there's people that claim, I don't want to like disparage that they don't, but there's plenty of people that say that they've recovered from anorexia completely for this reason or that reason, either with help or without help, and that they don't struggle with it the way they did in like their early 20s or their teenage years, which is a lot of time when this stuff starts. But for me personally, I don't take that stance. It is like alcoholism to me. I've had to manage it. I've had to manage it, and it's been an up and down road for years, decades. I've struggled as much as 2021. I had a pretty rough period where I thought I might need to go back to treatment. I wasn't talking about it as like online very much, but people were I was getting called out by a lot of people, and they were right. And I just didn't want to accept it or own it at that time, because you make a lot of progress, and when you slip back, it's just hard mentally to really know when you are sick or when you're kind of fooling yourself.
Right. Well, good for you for having people around you who will call you out. It's always important to have those people around you. What has it been like for you to watch people like Ariana Grande or even Charlize Theron and Olivia Wilde? Like there's so many.
Jenny Ortega I saw today has a bunch of viral, the Wednesday Addams actress.
Yeah. I saw something about Jen Ortega, and I was like, Jenna Ortega, and I was like, really? To me, she always looks like her size is okay, but I haven't gone to look into it. But I did see that there was, I did hear there was chatter about her body size as well. What has it been like to see in the wake of all of these weight loss medications that starlet, like, first of all, let me just back up. Did you know when Ozempic first came out, did you know that this was coming? Did you have
Yeah. I work for, so I work in PR, and I work with a lot of eating disorder nonprofits and treatment centers, like Eating Recovery Center, which is the largest treatment center with a lot of physical locations and virtual around the US. So Yeah, that was being talked. I mean, I knew it personally, but because I was watching my friends get on GLP-1s that did not need diagnostically to be on GLP-1, you know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
I've been saying that now for years at this point, and then in other countries, access to GLP-1s is even in some countries that I've lived in, it's like even more easy to get it
You
than the
just walk into a
States.
store, pick it
Yeah,
up.
order it on like the Uber Eats of Colombia. You know what I mean? Like they would,
Really?
oh yeah, yeah.
Oh my God.
And there was like no regulation. I think there might be more now, but there wasn't at first. And I was living in Colombia when this started hitting. But yeah, I think every client I had that works in eating disorder care knew this was going to be like almost like an epidemic. I mean, like it's like, and it has been.
Yeah,
And we're seeing the repercussions of it. I think it took a couple years for it to really hit. I'm not saying all GLP-1 usage is terrible. You know, I definitely
right.
don't want to put out that
I mean,
message. I think,
no, and this is my like when we're talking about nuanced layered storytelling is like I was on a GLP-1 last year and it worked and then it didn't really and I literally am starting trizepatide today. Like I just got it in the mail because I do struggle with my weight and I have a father who's morbidly obese and and it is a really strange thing to be like this is a problem. I want to model good things for my daughters. I want to do these things and also I'm not immune to what this is. And um, there are both aesthetic and health reasons why I feel like this medication will benefit me. And like, how do we have these conversations, right?
I know it's hard, and
It
it's
is.
all this last week, and I can send you some of the links after this, but it's been so interesting because I've watched all my eating disorder clients. I've gotten a lot of reporter inquiry because I work in PR, and I've gotten a lot of
Mhm.
reporters reaching out asking to talk to my clients too, about their perspectives on Ariana Grande specifically. So
Right.
it's been so interesting the issues that it's bringing up because a lot, and it's my stance too, is that it's so, are we talking about it out of a place of real concern, or are we talking about it because it's the next clickbait article? Are we talking, you know what I
Right.
mean? Like, there's so many different angles to look at it here. And it's, you know, a lot of my clients are saying ultimately it's not our business if she has an eating disorder. It's not our place to diagnose her. We can't say, I mean, Celine Dion got absolutely demolished by the press when she lost a
Oh,
ton of
yeah.
weight.
I
Do you remember
remember
that?
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I remember looking at her and thinking like she's so sick. And I assumed it was an eating disorder. I'll totally admit that. I assumed it was anorexia. And then it came out that
Right.
she had stiff person syndrome, which is
Yeah.
a totally, I mean, just she had, but she was kind of forced into publicly saying it. So
Yes.
I found that, you know, that was kind of a learning lesson for me too, because I was definitely in my head thinking
I
she was just sick.
Yep, I did have a comment come back to me from this story. I think it was the version on Medium, not on Substack, that was like, there are many sicknesses that can lead to weight loss like this, and she doesn't owe us to disclose what that is. Um, there's that, and then there's also the sort of Occam's razor of like, it it has we have watched her in the spotlight long enough that it you know
Well,
the likeliest answer is.
she's a symbol of what we're seeing across the board, right? And she's just
Mhm.
the mega star that has become the like symbolic representation of what a lot of us are frustrated with, which is that we're back to this really annoying and frustrating and bizarre 90s era heroin chic thing that
Yes.
we're all traumatized by. Our
Yeah,
generations are
I
traumatized.
know,
I think
right?
millennials are having a harder time with Ariana Grande sometimes than the younger
Right.
folks. Because we're all like, no, we already lived this, and this was
Girl, Gen X saw this
this.
coming so many times. Like this shit again, the skinny
Yeah,
shit again.
yeah,
Ugh,
exactly. It's just like it's just disappointing to a lot of us. So I don't, you know, while I my perspective I think is kind of in the realm of I don't want to diagnose her. I don't know what's going on with Ariana Grande. She probably I mean, like I have empathy for the fact that she has had a lot on her plate between you know, what we know of her personal life. There
yeah.
could be so many things going on, but we also have a right when there's someone that superstar big that's in every tabloid now and that your kids are seeing, that my daughter will one day see a version of that. when I have
Yes.
I'm pregnant everyone.
Yeah, that was my next question or the next thing to talk about.
But I think that we thank you, but I think we also reserve the right to have those conversations with our
Yeah.
children and with ourselves and ask how is this making us feel? Because it doesn't really matter what we feel about her, but it does matter how it makes us feel and how it makes our daughters or our sons, any of our children, how it makes them feel to see constant constant like attention towards, is this a GLP-1 body or not? Like look at their weight,
Right.
look at their before and after, because it doesn't seem like so much of the coverage on Ariana has necessarily been like she looks great. Like I haven't seen
Yeah.
like this, like I haven't seen this kind of like look how great she looks. It's more been this just onslaught of like public concern. And I put
You
concern in
know,
parentheses.
and I don't know if you share this, but I find that kind of heartening because in so many cases when someone in the public eye does lose a lot of weight, there is this like, wow, she looks amazing.
Right.
And it's nice to see an acknowledgement of like people are just collectively like, this isn't okay. And, I don't know what is motivating all of it. I know for me, there is this sense of like, I don't want another beautiful voice to die.
Yeah.
And I don't know her. I can't go call Ariana and be like, girl, you need an intervention like your friends did for you. Um, but to just ignore it also feels wrong.
Really.
So it's so hard. And yeah,
There's
you are going to have you are the mom to a daughter.
Yay!
How far along are you, Lindsay? Can
I'm
we just
almost 24 weeks.
Oh my
So
gosh. So you're in like still in your glowing second trimester? Are you about to enter your third?
yeah, yeah, I feel for yeah, second trimester I feel good. First trimester was horrible.
First trimester sucks. Second trimester, you were like, I am superhuman.
Yeah, I
I
do.
can grow life.
Cool. It's like
And
for anyone who wants to be a mom or is a mom, like I totally understand why people are opting out of having children in this world right now. But like
yeah.
I wanted to be a mom forever and didn't think I could be for a lot of different medical reasons, and was told I had like a 3% chance of ever being pregnant naturally without help. So this is like my little miracle baby.
Oh,
And so it's really special for me. And yeah, so far it's been great. It's so cool
look
to
at
see
your smile.
people. Yeah, thank
You're so
you.
happy.
Thank you.
So again, answer as much as you're comfortable with. Is it hard being pregnant or like as someone who struggles with anorexia?
Mm.
What is that like being pregnant? And has it been hard or has there been a letting go?
Actually, a letting go. It's
Good.
up in my Instagram because my main Instagram profile is mostly about eating
Mhm.
disorder recovery, and I actually like made a comment about how like
Yeah.
this is actually the first time in my probably my whole life that I really actually have let go because it's
Yeah.
like I know I have to eat, and also I'm like hungry all the time, and
Oh
like I
my
love
God.
food right now. Like I really love food, and it's like that's new for me as someone
Yeah.
who's had anorexia most of my life, and so I've actually like found it very like liberate. It's been like a really nice period to like not care
That
at
that
all.
is that's so beautiful. And I'm so happy to hear you say that because I would, again, it's not my lived experience, but I think it would be really challenging if you're worried about being fat, if that's like a lifelong concern, and then suddenly your body is getting bigger. Um,
I
I always
definitely
joked, what
no, I was
so
gonna say I
sorry.
definitely notice like there's things I've done that I've had to talk to like my therapist about.
Yeah.
Like I've checked like there's little things that are still like it's not like I'm just cured from it, because I
Yeah.
got pregnant. It's like I still have these like kind of tendencies to like check like at first I was like, is this a normal amount of weight to be gaining? Like, or am I
Right.
gaining too fast or this or that? Or like am I not gaining enough? I was like very obsessed with like the weight gain part for at first, and now I've let that go. So that's been nice. But because I think it was just I don't trust myself totally because of my
Right.
history. And that was interesting to kind of wade through of like not trusting my own mind. And so being like, am I eating enough? Am I eating too much? I don't know because I've never had
Right.
a normal relationship with food. So that's been the only part that I've noticed that I've like needed some like extra support on. But with my body changing, I have loved it. It's been so cool.
Oh, good. I remember from being pregnant and also from nursing that
Oh,
like when you find whatever food it is that your body is craving and you get it, it's just like the most amazing, satisfying feeling. And you're like, for me, with my first pregnancy, the first craving I had was a childhood favorite thing, which were Entenmann's donuts. Those
okay.
like gross, like
Yep.
vanilla donuts that are like dipped in waxy chocolate. Do you know what I'm
Yep,
talking
yeah, yeah,
about?
yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Oh my God, I wanted those so bad, like dipped in whole milk. I drank so much whole milk when I was pregnant. Milk
It is
disgusts
funny.
me.
Yeah, the
But
cravings, I love that. Mine has been like I've craved watermelon lately.
oh,
Chick-fil-A waffle fries and ice cream. I've loved ice cream throughout, but it's just
yes.
I don't know. It's such a I love growing a kid. Although I don't like being pregnant. Like I felt very sick first trimester. It was awful. I think I made a little reel
Yes.
about my first trimester time. It
Oh,
was awful, but it is really
yeah.
cool. It's really cool what the body can do.
It is amazing what the body can do. And I'm so happy that your body's able to do that,
Thank you.
and not have your eating disorder be a too long part of. Sorry, someone just came in downstairs. So Kira's being a good dog. She's also begging for like her
My cat
sixth treat or something.
and my cat just walked across. She always does,
I,
one of the three.
I love
But no, but it's
Mike.
like, I think a lot about having a daughter. When I first
Yeah,
found out I was having a daughter, I had some anxiety around it, truly,
yeah,
because I was like, there was a part of me, and I can admit this, and I've come to terms with it. I'm now super excited to have a daughter, but there was a part of me that I think first wanted it to be a boy solely because of my eating disorder history. And I have a lot of concern, and I still do. I'm still grappling with it of like,
yeah.
I really don't want to pass on some of the stuff that is so ingrained, so built into my head structure about
Right.
food. I want to make sure that she does not ever go through what I went through or what I've put myself through for 20 years. And so it's like seeing this kind of stuff with GLP-1s and the celebrity thing. Yeah, it's just, I mean, you're a mother. Like as you wrote about, it's like, how can we not want to protect our children from what we've experienced? I mean, isn't that
No,
kind of
it's crazy because on the Daily Whatever show, Lawrence and I like to talk a lot about how Gen X is kind of a fulcrum generation and one focused on healing generational wounds before.
Mhm.
And I would say yes, and it's amazing to see how certain wounds they never seem to heal or be mended. I don't know if you read Tova Sterling at all. It's Tova. Yeah. Did you see her story that she wrote about Ariana Grande a few days ago?
No, I haven't seen.
It's so good. I keep talking about it. I'm going to put it in the chat again because she's amazing. I love her work, but it's called the Pro Anna Morse Code of Ariana Grande, and it deconstructs kind of like how people like her who grew up with eating disorder with anorexia and were on these pro Anna message boards
Oh yeah,
early.
Tumblr.
The way that it's all coded in there, and I see her use a lot of language around like I want to break down these barriers and not have my kids be impacted by this, and I'm like she's young. Like she could be my daughter by age, right? Like I'm older. I'm probably about her mom's age, even though my kids are a lot younger because I waited real long to have kids. It's still just so confounding that every generation of women seems to be like, I don't want the next generation to take this on, and yet we keep passing it
Mm.
along. And so that's why, I mean, I'm hesitating to say this because my mom doesn't really read my work or look at it much. But the one thing she said to me when I put something on Facebook once was about kind of a family of origin um, relationship to food thing. And she just said she was mad that I had said anything. And she was like, and it's not true. And I was like, how can you tell me what's true about what I've learned about my relationship to food and eating through my upbringing? Like, it simply is. It's like, you're allowed to go write your own essays, but like you're not allowed to tell me what my lived experience has been. I would love to spend the rest of this time because we don't have a ton of time left. Kind of, how do we talk to our daughters about not just Ariana Grande, but the bigger questions that she brings up of like, there's no great way to move through the world as a woman,
No, agreed.
and there, how like, but tabula rasa, your child is not quite here yet. You know, she's here. And she, of course, won't have a relationship to food for a while in this sense. But I'm sure you've thought about this. What thoughts do you have for people like me and other people in the audience who are struggling with how to talk to their daughters?
Well, I feel like when I read your essay, I really liked your approach to it because I think that's kind of what I mean, and I'm gonna steal a couple phrases right out of the words of her name's Dr. Wassner, and she's the regional medical director for ERC. But
Yeah.
she had an interview with Wall Street Journal or Mashable, and I was listening to it and then reading it, and I thought her answer to this is something that I wanted to share too because again, it points back to she was like, we cannot diagnose her, and I'm not going to diagnose her as a, you know what I mean? Like, she was like, I don't know, she's not my
Right.
patient. She was like, but what we can do is have these conversations with our kids and ask our children, like, how does seeing this make you feel? What emotions does it bring up in you? Like, is it affecting
Mhm.
you to see this? Like, and I thought that that was really interesting and something that I would want to do, or I hope I do with my daughter, is that I don't think we're ever going to get away from this, right? Like,
Right.
if GLP-1s can, and they are, I don't see the GLP-1 fad ending anytime soon. And some of it, again, GLP-1s serve a purpose that is not all terrible. But in terms of people abusing GLP-1s and having more extreme eating disorder type behavior,
Mhm.
and not saying that's what Ariana Grande is doing, but the speculation around that is probably going to
Right.
continue for a long time. The same way that you were talking about the filler and all that. I mean, that's almost equally on the same playing field. I feel like in
Yeah.
2022, I went a little overboard on cosmetic stuff because I was living in Colombia and it was a lot cheaper, and in Medellin in particular, it's a culture of people that really take pride in and spend a lot of money in cosmetic tourism.
Yeah.
And I got swept up in that, and in a way I've had to reconcile that in myself. I had to kind of like back off because my mom said something which I appreciated, but she was
Yeah.
like, I started on lip filler, and for me it just didn't work. And my mom at one point was like, you're going like, I don't think you're seeing yourself, you know what I mean? She was like, I don't
Right.
think that you can see yourself anymore. And she was like, I just be careful. And that kind of like jarred me because it's the same way with anorexia or eating
Yeah.
disorder. You stop seeing yourself, you stop seeing, you're like, you see yourself through a filter. I mean, it's just, so I think both those conversations are like tangential, you know? And
Yeah.
I hope that I don't think our daughters will ever get away from it, but I think we have to sit there and ask, you know, we can't avoid the conversation with
Right.
them for seeing it. So it
Yeah.
comes down to how is it making them feel? Is it bringing up things for them? Like that's what I hope I can have with my daughter is an open conversation about like, is that bothering her to see that? Like, does she, you know, how is that affecting her? If it is affecting her, maybe she'll be you know, far different than me and be like, I really don't care about this, mom. Like I don't.
Right.
This doesn't affect
That'll
me.
be that'll be her rebellion, and she'll just be
Yeah.
like, I don't care. I'm gonna eat whatever I want. Bring on the
Yeah,
ice cream.
exactly, and if so, then great, but at least I think it's responsible as a parent to want to try
Right.
to have those conversations and see how they're feeling about seeing that, instead of being like, "Oh, she looks so bad," or, "Oh, she's overdone it with the," you know what I mean? Like, more
Right.
like, "What do you think about seeing that?" You know, like,
Right.
what do you feel about seeing
Yeah.
somebody look drastically different in this way or that?
Yeah. And for me, and my essay opens with this. I have a lot of thoughts, and again,
Mhm.
circular ones, because I'm like, I get Botox in my forehead since last year. I love it. I love the way it works. I obviously dye my hair, getting it redone tomorrow. There are things we all do. I wear makeup, but like I look at especially young women, like my daughter's peers or just up from them, and really what I see is the financial impact on what's happening to them, because those lash extensions, like, girl,
I know.
they're so expensive. The microblading, the lip filler, the Botox they start getting when they're 20.
$200. I was doing lash extensions for a while too, that like when I came back from Medellin
Mhm.
to the States, and I
Yeah,
gave it up because I was like, who is spending $200
every two
like
weeks.
in this economy? Like,
Right.
but but also again, I understand why people like it. I liked it for a time too.
Yeah, it looks really pretty. I did it once, but I was like, wow, maybe my daughters can go to college or I can have long eyelashes.
I
And
know
it's
that's
also
what
the time, right? You have to lie there for an hour or two while they're manually gluing them on. And same with like just this summer, I love, the way dip manicures look, but I'm like, no, I just have time, money. I'm not doing it, but I really want my kids to be aware of like, you don't have to opt into these things.
yeah.
And also I understand why you will feel pressure to opt into them because they're simply becoming norms. And in my mind, they're kind of they're a form of oppression that we put on ourselves.
Oh my
And
god, yeah,
it's
women are putting on women too, which
yeah,
is why we
because
can never
dudes don't know.
yeah, it's why we can never win. It's because
Yeah.
we have incel men over here that, bash on us for being this or that or old or whatever. But then there's also this like other insidious part of like women against women, right? Where it's like
Hmm.
now we're in this whole anti-aging thing, where it's like don't
Yeah.
age, basically don't age and do whatever
Yeah.
you can to not age at all, which is absurd because we're all going to age, obviously. But I think that it's just all pieced together and it just put, like you said, the financial effect of it. Because yeah, I've spent thousands of dollars on my skin, thousands, and it's like that's so. Again, but
Right.
there's pros and cons. Like I understand
You have
why.
lovely skin.
Yeah, well, and I understand why someone wants to feel good, So
Yeah.
it's just how we
And
can't judge completely. It's just so interesting. I don't know. There's so
here's
again.
where, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say it's why you were saying like your essay really can't have a like clean ending because
Right.
there's so many different tangential aspects of it, right? Like your essay couldn't be cleaned up at the like you couldn't have like a
Right.
clean
There's no bow to put on the end of it and just be like, and this is what we should do about eating disorders in our daughters. This is what we should do about the oppression of beauty standards.
right.
And I have a couple of essays about kind of beauty and aging that I've written about of this, where it is this circular thing of like, when you need things from the world, they come to you easier when you look younger, prettier, and thinner. And that is simply a fact. And that's everything from dating, that's jobs, it's how you move through the world. People like looking at beauty, which is normal. And what the standard of beauty is well, it's not fat, old, and wrinkled, right? So what's crazy is that like um when you look at like actresses who are obviously at a higher echelon for needing to look good and having the money to do it, like I feel like Gen X was the last generation where women could age at all.
Hmm.
um have you seen the show Dairy Girls? Did
Yeah.
you ever watch
Yeah,
that?
yeah.
We love
I
Dairy
watched like 5
Girls.
or 6 episodes of it. That's funny. Yeah, just recently too.
Yeah, yeah, it wasn't that long ago for me either, and I think my kids and I have watched it through like 2 or 3 times. We love it. One of them in Dublin when we were there. But it's documenting events from the 90s, right? They're teenagers in the 90s. And I looked up the ages of the four main actors, the four women who are the friends, and I was like, oh my God, they're playing teenagers, but they're all like in their late 30s. So they were almost the age in the 90s that they are now, but they're like Nicola Coughlan hasn't aged at all. Like, I don't know what she's doing to her skin, but she plays a 14-year-old on Bridgerton
Yeah. That's
and she
yeah.
looks the part, right? Like, that's not natural. You can't keep up with
No,
that. But also when it's possible, like, why? Yeah,
I
it
do
just creates this
I
cycle.
yeah, I do suspect that there's going to be a turn in culture eventually on some of the like
Do you think?
over I that's my prediction. Now, do I know? No, I don't know. I'm just a random person on the internet, but I do think it is interesting to start seeing on social like on like let's say all these reality shows, right? Like Love is
Mhm.
Blind or all these like really Love Island, Temptation, I don't know, all those reality
Yeah.
stuff. I feel like there are a lot more conversations happening where people are like, "Why does everyone look the same?" Like,
Yes.
"Why are women all looking the same?" And I do
Yes.
suspect and hope, I guess, that I do have some hope that, like, eventually we'll kinda even out. I don't think it's gonna go away, the anti-aging thing, but, like or, like, the
Right.
math
But suddenly having like a really prominent nose is going to be really beautiful.
yeah, or just that, like,
Yeah.
I think not I think we'll get I think there will be a little bit I think there is going to be a turning point a little bit of people just like looking, everyone having the exact same face, which I saw like
Right.
a New Yorker article about recently about like why does everyone look the same?
Yeah.
And I thought that was an interesting. I'll have to drop that link in there. I'll have to find it, but I thought it was an interesting way to think about it. That we're
Right.
losing our originality and our individuality by through needles.
Right. Through needles and surgery. It's so true. I mean, yeah, my dad offered me a nose job for my 16th birthday, and I was like, I don't want a nose job. I like my nose. But like, if I were, especially if I were younger and doing this kind of work, I can totally see why the pressure is there of like, you're going to be a lot more successful if you look like this. It's it is a tough place to be raising daughters,
Yeah.
and you
Which
are about to be taking that on.
I know, but I think, we keep having these conversations with them. We have open conversations that we maybe didn't
Yeah.
have with our families and
Yeah.
let them figure out because maybe it was, I often feel like I didn't really even know what I felt because it wasn't talked about. um,
Right.
and that's at no fault of my parents, of course. Like I just think it was
No.
mental health focus was not like a huge thing up until the last like 15 years,
Right.
really.
Right.
Um,
And our moms didn't have a chance in terms of body image stuff. They're just
oh
like
no,
when
no.
my mom is upset with me, I'm like, I don't blame her for being the way she is. She's a product of her upbringing too, where like if you're not thin, it's you're not healthy and you're not that there's no discussion. It's just
Yeah,
you have to be thin.
right.
And I'm like, yes, and I'm half my dad's genetic makeup too.
Yeah.
So that's what I look like.
And
But
men still don't receive the same amount of scrutiny that women receive,
they
and that
don't,
that'll
but they're getting there, right? Like the looks maxer thing and the
body
I
dysmorphia too, like the
yep,
bigorexia is what they're calling it with men. I am noticing that is the muscle building thing is like
right.
really that would worry me if I was having a son.
Yes. I had posted this to Facebook. Actually, I had told my Facebook friends that I might read some of their comments because they said some really brilliant things. But one of them was, hold one moment, please. Let me navigate over here. But um, one of them was talking about, I think it was Josh Johnson, the comedian, who is brilliant, but how he was like, look at like men were or boys and men were looking at what women were going through with body image stuff, and instead of being like we should try to help them, they were just like, now we're going to jump in and do it too.
Yeah,
So
fit
I,
into
I've
it
heard,
too.
oh, here it is. We spent decades realizing how toxic women's beauty standards were, how backbreaking it was to tell young girls that they had to look like photoshopped magazine covers or they weren't worthy of love. And instead of fixing that for women, society went, you know what would balance this out? Let's make the boys feel like trash too. We didn't solve body dysmorphia, we just open sourced it to teenage boys.
Yeah, I
And I
totally
was
agree.
like,
I've
yeah,
had a lot of frustration around that too, and it's another topic we don't need to go way into, but I have a short brother. My brother's super short, and it's really frustrated me to see the that it's acceptable for women to just bash on short men, you know what I mean? And like
mhm,
say that they would never date someone short or this or that. Like there's so much talk about that. And I think because I have a brother who he's fine talking, he accepts it. He's married and
yeah,
accepts it as it is, but as his sister, he's my best friend.
no,
I find I'm like that's equally as like horrific. Like why are we allowed to say this about men? You know what I
yeah,
mean? When we get so mad rightfully at men who make any physical comment about women. You know what I mean? And
right.
as we should. I hate like that. Nothing infuriates me more than some incel on the internet. But in the same way, we should be thoughtful too about how we're talking about men physically too. Like, because I see so many women saying stuff like that, and I'm like, do you hear yourself? Like,
Right.
height is not something anyone can. That's genetic.
Yeah,
Like,
that is. I dated one very short man for a long time. I tend to like, I like very ectomorphic men, like tall and crazy skinny. That's my thing.
uh,
But I dated this guy for a long time, and he was about my height. I'm 5'4", so he was quite short, and I like. it was never my favorite, but I was also like literally the one thing he cannot change.
Yeah, it's the one thing. I mean, really, my brother's just always been short, and he's had to deal with that kind of comment. You know, I've literally heard people say in front of him, like girls say in front of him, like, "Ooh, he's short. I wouldn't date him." In front, like not about my brother, but about someone else. And I've watched
Right.
my brother have to navigate that kind of like it, like that kind of. I'm like, what is wrong with you? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
what? Why are you
Read
saying?
the room, read the room.
I don't know. So that's my other tangent on that though with men is that yeah, we're like we like I don't know if we're just letting um those conversations, you know, I think we have to add I don't know where I'm going with that. That was
Just
just
that
my
men
tangent.
are no longer men are
Uh,
no longer immune in a way that they were for a long
yes,
time.
thank you.
But
Yep.
bias against short men has been there for a long time. Although there is the whole like short kings movement. Oh, hold on. My cat rarely makes an appearance,
Oh,
but so
let me
I'm going to just
see.
do this.
Oh, hello.
Hi,
Hello.
Kisby.
Oh my gosh, I love how whimsical your dining room is.
Oh gosh, thank you. If by whimsical you mean messy,
I
it
love
is.
it. Oh, I want like the wood. I like the pink. Oh, I want it. I'm in
Yeah,
my nesting era because I'm gonna have a kid.
right. Yeah, and you know what? I don't know if you're doing this the same way I am, but like, no dudes live here. And I get
Yeah.
to make all the choices. So I'm like, the dining room shall be pink. My bathroom is purple and has a giant unicorn on the shower curtain
You get
because
to
I
do
get to
whatever you
decide.
yes, you get to decide however you want. I love it.
Yeah, so we have a very femme house. Kispin is the only boy, the
He's so
cat.
cute. I have one boy cat too. He's gonna be the only boy too.
Oh, yeah, I had two cats, but my girl cat, yeah, Mother's Day, she let me know she was done.
Oh,
And so
that's
then I put her down the day after Mother's Day. It was okay. It was, I haven't written about that yet, and I probably should one day soon, but that is,
pet loss
uh,
is so hard. Oof.
it is. And the other side of it was so hard getting to that decision. And a generation ago, like my mother would have been like, Josie went to go live on a farm a long time ago because she was diabetic for half her life. She was 16 when she died. So I was giving her twice a day insulin shots. She was peeing on everything. Like all the furniture in the room back there is all replaced. Like she peed on the sofa. She peed on all the rugs in the house. Like she did a lot of damage that so there was relief mixed in and then guilt about relief. It was
Yeah.
also it was her time though. I felt like but it was, of course it was really sad when we
It's
did
hard.
it.
Yeah, of course, and
So
it's hard to know when.
yeah.
It's hard to know when to really say goodbye.
I it is a really daunting thing to make a morality call for another living creature. There's no doubt about that.
Yep.
But so I probably waited longer than I should, but also I feel really like I have no doubts about, I mean, she just like her legs stopped working. She just sort of collapsed out. And I was like, yeah, this is this is not a way to live.
No. And she
So
knew.
now I have one old boy kitty and one rambunctious little girl dog.
I can't wait. Yeah, I want to get a dog too, but I gotta wait until I have a kid now. I'm like,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
got 3 cats, and now I'm about to have a kid. I'll wait for a second, but then I'm gonna go rescue a dog.
Oh my God, I love it. Lindsay, it's been so informative and so delightful to talk with you for this past hour. I realized, hold on, I've been so caught up in talking with you. I have not been checking
No,
with,
thank you for writing what you're writing too. I think it's so beneficial to so many
oh,
soon-to-be parents and
thank you.
teenagers dealing with this, you know, and I'm just at the beginning of my parenting journey. Hopefully,
Yeah,
you know,
you are,
I'm just trying to get her out safely first.
right?
So,
My advice there that you did not ask for, because so
oh no, tell
unsolicited.
me, I'm always open ears.
I was just talking about this with some mom friend of mine because now I'm taking my eldest to college in a few weeks, so it's like mine are 16 and 18, and I'm like, it feels so, every decision, especially when they're babies, feels so impactful, and you're like, oh my God. And there's like, do I, when you make your birth plan, and is there going to be a C-section, is it going to be a vaginal delivery, and what kind of, you have to make all these calls, and then there's nursing and bottle feeding. And I'm here to tell you from the future that like you cannot tell how they
Thank
were
you.
delivered or how they were fed as
Thank you.
babies by the time they're in elementary school. It simply matters that mom is in a good mental health space and is able to raise baby, and baby is in good health.
It's
I
good to
mean,
hear. Like, that's the kind of stuff I need to hear because there's so much.
yes,
God, you just get onslaughted with like social
you
media
do.
stuff.
Both of my babies ended up being C-section deliveries. The first one unplanned after 26 hours of labor, and the second one was planned because I was like, I'm not doing that again.
Brutal.
My children, I think they're bonded to me just fine. You know, people will be like, they don't bond if you don't deliver vaginally, like, or if you have an epidural, like, do what you need to do. You don't need to suffer.
I know.
If you want,
I feel like
yeah,
half the time I'm just like, what are you trying to sell me by instilling more
yeah,
mom fear in me? You know what I mean?
right.
Like
If
half
your
this time,
baby nurses well and you want to nurse your baby. If your baby doesn't latch well and needs formula or needs you to pump, do that. My eldest would not take a bottle. She would like strike until I would come home from work, and it was really hard. It had feed your baby,
thank you. Thank
deliver your baby. It's
you.
you're the living on the 24-hour clock though of the beginning is like wild.
I
Like the
know.
level of exhaustion is
I'm nervous about postpartum. That's definitely like the fear I have right now is postpartum. Is I'm just
yeah.
like I don't, especially watching that Lindsay Clancy trial right now, or like I'm not watching it, but getting the kind of updates on it. I'm just like, so I know postpartum is so real. I'm so glad we're talking about it more,
Yeah.
because it's real, and I'm worried about like handling that and
I-
hoping I don't have like a too severe
Yeah.
um, period of time. But knowing that
I'm
millions and
gonna
millions of women have done
yeah.
it, so of
We
people.
have, and it sounds like you're very well supportive. You have a good family around you, and if you do have issues, like people are aware of it now, and you can go get treatment. But in all likelihood, you will just be extremely exhausted and very happy, but overwhelmed. Here
Yeah.
was one thing nobody. I'm trying to remember, like, what were the things that nobody told me? Um, like right after I got back, I spent like 4 days in the hospital with my first because of the emergency C-section, and to heal from that and all that. Let them hold the baby your first night in the hospital. I was like, there's no way I'm letting some stranger hold my baby. And I was like, let them
Totally.
hold the baby so you can sleep while you're in the hospital because that's all the sleep you get.
Oh, I've gotten that feedback from a couple of people being like,
Yes.
no, you're gonna be like obsessed, like you don't want to let go, but like you need to sleep.
Go sleep. Let the baby go. Let the nurse have the time of her life cuddling your baby. Baby doesn't know or care. It's fine. But I got home, and like a few days after getting home, I felt like I had the flu. That I was like, oh my god, I'm all chilled and achy, and what's happening? And I called, and they were like, oh, that's just your milk coming in, like the hormones coming in with, like when you go from producing like beep beep beep, like just the little blips that a freshly born baby gets, the colostrum, to
Yeah,
having milk come in. It can feel flu-like, and it completely freaked me out. And I was like, why did nobody warn me about this?
no, I'm so glad you told me that. I like have not heard that from anybody. Good to know. Okay, thank you.
Because you forget, right? It doesn't happen to everyone, and you forget. Um, and then there will be times when my firstborn was 4 weeks old. I remember a time when I was like, I cannot get her off of me. Like we would stop nursing, she'd doze for a few seconds and then be hungry again. And I again called the hotline, the nurses at the hospital, like, do I need to give her formula? Like she doesn't seem to be getting enough. And they were like, no, she's hitting a growth spurt at 4 weeks. It's pretty normal for them to sort of grow to the next level. And it's a perfect system, and she's signaling your body to produce more milk. It's going to suck for a few days and then it's going to get better. And it did. I just produced more after that.
Oh my god, thank you. This is really helpful. This is the kind of stuff I need.
I should write this story because I
Yeah.
still remember these things.
Yes. No, it's honestly really helpful because until you're living it, there's
Yeah,
just so much I'm like, "Oh my god, there's so much I don't know."
right,
Like, I didn't expect to be pregnant. Like,
right.
I wasn't it was unexpected,
I
so
didn't
it's
know any of this shit
more
either.
yeah, it's felt more just like I'm trying to find out. I'm like, what's gonna happen?"
You can keep snacks next to your nursing chair because you are going to be so ravenous.
I have heard that
Oh,
you're, like, so hungry.
so hungry. It's the equivalent of running 5 miles, I've heard,
Yeah,
a
that's what
day.
I've heard too. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I was like Cracklin' Oat Bran was my thing. That like cereal I loved as a kid.
Yeah,
Do you
I
know
went
what?
through a cereal I went through a huge, like, kid cereal phase first trimester.
Yes.
I was all about, like, Lucky Charms and Fruity Pebbles and Captain
I
Crunch.
love Lucky Charms.
Oh, I couldn't stop. I was, like, reliving childhood.
Yeah.
Mostly because I was nauseous all the time, but
Oh my God. This is totally reminding me with my second that I saw there were like 6 doctors in the practice, and I saw one who wasn't my doctor just for a checkup at, I don't know, halfway through or 2/3 of the way through. And I had been gaining weight, but just kind of normal weight gain, with the pregnancy. And but that week when I came in, I had gained like I think 6 pounds, and I think I hadn't the week before. So that week there was growth, and she was just like, you might be gaining a little too much weight. And I was like, and she's like, yeah, what do you, I'm like, well, I like wake up at 2 in the morning ravenous and I go downstairs and eat bowls of cereal. And she's like, maybe eat like half a bowl of cereal. And I was like, maybe go die in a fire.
Yeah, just why don't you just piss right off that comment?
What are you doing? Like, she didn't even ask about my history if I had an eating disorder. Thankfully, I didn't. But I
They
was like,
still, yeah, it's still 50-50 whether someone's really going to take into account your eating. Like I've yeah, I just feel like doctors, when I like
yeah,
relapsed in 2021, I was like, I knew, semi what was going on, but my doctors
right.
didn't say anything. And then one of them did finally, but they just like diagnosed it as like they didn't even say anorexia. And then I like left, and then it was just, I just was like, why, like no one taught this. I don't understand why the medical field has not caught up exactly.
Because it's mostly women's health. So why would they study
Exactly,
that?
exactly. Oh my God. Ding ding.
Homemade granola, Jason. Yes, I did not have that when I was nursing, but if I had, I would have eaten the shit out of homemade
Me
granola.
too. I've been eating a lot of granola myself. The
Oh,
bare granola I love. Oh, I love
I,
granola.
I love granola too. Oh my God, it's so good. All right, speaking of which, I need to go get my brood fed. It's dinner time here.
Oh,
Um, this has been so lovely, Lindsay.
yeah.
Please keep us up to date. Aren't you due right around Christmas?
December 7th.
Or a little
So
earlier?
yeah,
Oh,
December 7th. So we'll see if she makes it. I hope she makes it the whole time. We'll see. I don't know. I don't know
yeah,
what to expect.
that'll be a little Sagittarius baby, a fire
I know.
sign.
I hope she makes it. I want her to be a little Sagittarius. So we'll see if she makes it.
Sagittarians like to travel, so that would be a good fit for you.
Yeah, I think so too.
Mama daughter wandering the earth. Oh my God, you're gonna have such a beautiful baby.
Thank you.
I'm
So
completely gonna keep in touch with you about that. Thank you to everyone who was here. Oh wait, hold on. I gotta pull up. I pulled up your page because I do want to say please go subscribe to Lindsay Hall if you are not already. She is a wonderful writer and thinker and deserves all the support with your 33,000 likes on Substack and one article. I probably don't need to be shouting you out too heavily here, but I always like to do it
yeah,
at the end.
appreciate it.
Yes,
Appreciate it.
and if you have not subscribed to me at I Write Out Loud, I would also welcome your subscription. And tomorrow is the Daily Whatever Show, Fucked Up Friday. Lawrence and I will be here to discuss the fucked up news of the week. There's been so many. I don't even know which story I'm going to pick.
I was
But
like, which one?
oh my God, our special guest is Marlon Weems returning to the show. He is an old friend and is always brilliant. So please join us at 10 a.m. Eastern Time tomorrow at the Daily Whatever Show. And otherwise, enjoy your Thursday evenings, everybody. Love you,
Thank
mean
you.
it. Bye, all. Now I have to come over here and go find the off button because, there is no intern running the running the systems behind the scene.
Yeah.
Bye, all.